Hi you guys, welcome back. So I know this Lori Lightfoot report was more than a week old, but there were some comments that were made on the Dolton Trustees YouTube page that made me kind of want to do this video still. Okay, and this video is just basically going to hit on some of the topics that Lori Lightfoot mentioned, and I am going to play some old footage along with those topics just to give people kind of an idea of the trustees, all right, and their stance, because some of those comments were saying like, oh, the trustees, they didn't do enough to stop her, or they're just as guilty as she is, talking about Tiffany Henyard. First of all, no. All right. If you guys have really been following this whole Dolton Thornton Township drama, you know that the trustees have done everything within their power besides physically dragging this woman, okay, out of the office, all right, which they can't do, obviously. So they have done a lot. They've even tried to recall her. I have a series on my channel called The Road to Recall, which highlights a lot of the times that the trustees have gone against Tiffany Henyard and have tried to combat her spending. So that being said, this is basically what this video is about. It's a little breakdown of some of the things that Lori Lightfoot found. So if you're new here and you like what you hear, please remember to leave this video a like, and if you're a returning subscriber, please remember to leave it a like as well. Let's start the show.
And a lack of cooperation by some individuals led to delays, limited our abilities and the scope of work, and ultimately limited the information that we were able to address in the course of this investigation.
So she was just basically talking about how people were not willing to cooperate with the investigation, which of course, why would Tiffany Henyard and her administration do that, right? And then she went into a little quick history of Dolton. It was incorporated in 1892. In 2020, the population was 21,426, median income 58,706, and approximately 91% of the population is African American. Just some basic facts.
Who were the people in charge of making various decisions under Mayor Henyard's administration? Aside from Mayor Henyard was the village administrator. You may recall that that was initially Dorothy Brown. And then in late 2021, Keith Freeman began his duties as the village administrator. The director of finance, you would think this is a very key position. Unfortunately, what we found over the course of our investigation is there are many periods of time during Mayor Henyard's tenure where that position was vacant. At one point, Tanjanique Miller fulfilled the role sometime in 2022 on a full-time basis, and then she went to a part-time basis by December of 2023 and worked only remotely. The position has been vacant, again, since early 2024. As I mentioned before, the Director of Administration is Janice Johnson. And you remember from my discussion about the purchasing policy, where there's supposed to be somebody who's a staff accountant that is responsible for monitoring and overseeing the purchase of goods and services on behalf of the village. There's no such position that exists in the village of Dolton. As a result of the small staff managing the city finances, the John Kasparic firm has essentially become the in-house, although they're outside, but the in-house financial department for the village of Dolton. Because there are a limited number of personnel, they became the de facto finance department. This remains true to this day.
So this is one of the guys from the John Kasparic Company who have been working for the village of Dolton for a long time. And his title was the Director of Finance, like this lady right here, Tanjanique Miller. But like Lori Lightfoot said, since they didn't really have someone in there full time to do this job, they had to outsource it. And that was costing the village a lot of money, and even still to this day.
The municipality must have an audit of its financial records annually. As you know, this became an issue. We'll talk more about that as well. And that audit and other financial information must be filed annually with the comptroller's office.
Chief Financial Officer makes it clear to Dolton officials.
Until I see those reports properly filed the way the law says they have to be, and until we see them show accountability for how they're spending taxpayer money, they will not see another penny of those offsets.
Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza says she is freezing $135,000 that would have been sent to the Village of Dolton after a preliminary report of the village finances by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot revealed questionable expenses under Mayor Tiffany Henyard, and a village that had a multi-million-dollar surplus 2 years ago is now running millions of dollars in debt.
Our action yesterday is to protect the people of Dolton who she is disrespecting with her behavior every day.
Mendoza says her office is poised to do a forced audit and levy fines if the Village of Dolton does not file past due audits.
Or, as has happened now to Dolton, the comptroller has the ability to force an audit of the financial records. Now, on that point, if you go to the comptroller's office and you look under on their website under the municipal division, there are literally hundreds of municipalities across the state of Illinois who have not filed the necessary financial documents, whether it's the financial report, whether it's the audit, and some of these delinquencies go back years.
So I did go to the website, but I wasn't able to find it the way she said it. This is the website I went to in case anyone wants to go as well. And down here is where I did the search to find these audits that she was talking about. So you're going to hit the report name option, and then you'll want to find where it says delinquent reports. Go ahead and select that. Then hit search. And you guys, she was not kidding when she said over hundreds. It's over thousands, okay? So this is page 1 of 186 pages of townships, municipalities, places that have not completed their audits in time, who have been delinquent on audits for years on end. So this first column that I highlighted will show you the place. The next columns, I believe that stands for fiscal year end. And then the next column is extension, I believe, like if they got an extension on the audit. And then the next one I'm going to highlight is the final due date. So I'm guessing that that's when their extension was due. And as we can see, there are some dating back to 2021. I think I saw some in there for 2016. And then the last column that I highlighted in red, it says uploaded awaiting approval. So all those have an N on them, which means no. So I'm guessing that they haven't even bothered to upload any audit to be approved. So I guess it's just the trend. I don't know. Like, there's no accountability anywhere, and people are not like in an uproar about it. It's just like they just spend your tax money however they want, and there's no rush for accountability, which is funny because on the flip side, we as citizens have to pay taxes with urgency, okay? They're going to be taking your money either way, and they want to be all up in your finances, okay? They want to know how much you made, where you're spending it, how much more you made, why did you make that much more, who you got it from. I mean, it's ridiculous. So we have to be accountable as citizens, but then as we can plainly see, the government, there's no accountability there. You know, I know it's been going on for centuries, you guys, but you know, I just had to vent a little bit, okay? But I guess this just gives us a better idea of why Tiffany Henyard just feels so entitled to just do whatever she wants. Why? Because it's right there in black and white. There's no accountability. And she knows there isn't going to be. And if there is, she's not going to be the only one in that boat because the list is so long. Speaking of a long list, I finally got down to Dolton down here. And as you guys can see, yes, you know, they're back on their audits as well. And the list goes on. Well, enough about that. Let's get back to this Lori Lightfoot report.
But soon after we had our report in early August of last year, the comptroller's office suddenly paid attention to the Village of Dolton.
Village trustees now demanding the village finance department comply.
It's so sad. It's sad because the people who are being hurt are the poor people of Dolton.
The comptroller's office suddenly paid attention to the Village of Dolton. and took notice, while other municipalities across the state have been delinquent in their responsibilities for years. One might ask, why is that so?
An attorney representing Mayor Henyard shared this statement, saying in part, she has never refused to comply with the comptroller. She is simply trying to compel the accountant to comply.
Governance for the village are not assembled in one location, filed with the state, so that all of you can look up what's the code say on this, that, or the other thing. This became something that we learned early on, which is a little bit of a surprise, but became another challenge to overcome, and making sure that we had a true picture of what the rules and laws were that had been passed that govern the village of Dolton.
I just want to update you guys on a few things that the clerk's office is currently doing. As you know, the clerk is responsible. She's the keeper of the records for the entire village. And that's a very important and tedious process because currently our records are not very well organized. So in doing that, you guys approved me, I believe early on, maybe May or June, to purchase a remote software called Laserfish, which is a software that allows me to store documents and records into a cloud format where they are always stored in the cloud and we don't have to rely on paper documents so often.
So in a nutshell, what the clerk was trying to do was trying to get all the records and the ordinances organized through codifying them, having them in one place in a cloud so that they're easily accessible. So that way, whoever had questions on certain ordinances and how things should be done, it would be much easier for them to access them. And I feel like if this would have been done, and if it would have been done correctly, it would have aided the trustees a lot more in their attempt to curb the mayor's spending and her behavior. But at the same time, I don't think anything could have stopped her. If she wanted to do it, she was going to do it, period, point blank. Okay. But what this does show us is that the clerk, along with the trustees, have made attempts to bring Dolton up to speed to improve, the inside as far as the finances and the money flow and how things are done. But unfortunately, it just seems like Dolton has had a history of people coming in there, taking advantage, and not really doing things in the interest of the people there, but making money and then running off with the money. That's what I've seen a lot in the past board meetings with the previous mayor too. But I feel like they actually had a chance to start changing and getting on the right path. But unfortunately, they chose Tiffany Henyard, and the rest is history. You guys know. But let's continue.
As a result, these are the absence of archived ordinances and resolutions not being readily public led to gaps in our understanding about the laws, making governance unnecessarily difficult. The village actually does have a purchasing policy and manual. The policy essentially provides directions for the acquisition of all goods and services. And when used with good judgment and common sense, as it reads, the quote, the policies and procedures conveyed within will allow the village to obtain required supplies and services efficiently and economically. The policy also provides, in general, all supplies, materials, equipment, contractual and professional services required for operational efficiency will have been included in the annual budget.
So basically, Lori Lightfoot is saying that Dolton does have a purchasing policy, but obviously the mayor and her administration is not going by this policy. They've just been going out spending willy-nilly. So usually any business that's ran efficiently has a purchasing order system where, monthly they order things that they need, and there's usually a list of things that you can order from, and it doesn't allow you to go over the budget that you have for that month. Dolton appears to have something like that, but it hasn't been followed.
Only question or concern I have with all these updates or anything that gets spent, I hope we don't see it. I hope the money doesn't get spent and then we see it afterwards, because the credit card can get spent, things get purchased on the credit card and we see it afterwards. Mm-hmm. Are we going to go forward with this, or are we going to And I defer to Trustee House on this. Are we going to wait till the budget comes? Because I know this stuff is expensive. And make sure that the board is well aware of it, so we don't want to just get blindsided and we have to approve a big payment for something that we didn't know about until we got the board agenda.
I will make sure I budget for it. I'll make sure I do run it through the board.
Now let's take a look at this next clip, which comes from another meeting a couple of months down the line.
Okay, because I know last meeting we approved $6,900 payment, but that was spent before we actually got a chance to approve. But we approved it. But it was definitely over that amount.
Right. I believe those were a combination of invoices. I don't recall seeing one invoice for $6,900. If I recall correctly, it was multiple ones. I don't have the specifics off the top of my head, but I do believe there were multiple items that were combined.
So this is what it is. Tiffany, now being the mayor, has a $5,000 spending limit before she has to bring these things before the Board of Trustees so they can look over it and they can approve it. So her way of circumventing this rule, and that just means going around it, wiggling around it so she can get her way, is making sure that none of the vendor invoices or whatever she's doing goes over the $5,000 threshold. Sneaky, right?
The finance department is supposed to have a position called the staff accountant. That person is responsible for centralizing and overseeing the purchase of goods and services for the village, and to determine whether or not an item proposed to be spent, that there are adequate funds and proper purchasing procedures have been followed before any monies of the village are incurred. That person is supposed to be reviewing and initiating all purchase orders, payment requests after they are submitted to the finance department for payment. They're supposed to be centralized purchasing. That makes sense because in best practices, you want to make sure that there's not what we call rogue spending going on, and that the village is getting the benefit of its bargain by maximizing its buying power. You want to make sure that there's not what we call rogue spending going on.
Henyard and her allies spent thousands on everything from steak dinners to hotels and what appeared to be first-class airfare.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Nobody told her to get on TV and lie like that. Blatant lies. Did you spend this on a credit card? No, sir.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
I don't know where they got that from. That's unexcusable. These are easily verifiable lies. That's unacceptable.
What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
And she's going to say everybody's lying. They do have it. The Attorney General is asking for credit card receipts. I guess the Attorney General was lying too.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
So this is where we're at in the village. It's self-accountability, and the mayor can blame everybody.
We received information of various allegations of political retaliation. You are all, by this point, well aware of Henyard's treatment of Township Assessor Cassandra Elston that included locking Elston out of township offices and then later accusing Elston of abandoning her job.
Everything's been moved out of your office. They've put you over into another section.
Right now at 9:30, a South Suburban elected official gets a rude surprise as she learns she's been locked out of her own office.
She believes it's dirty politics by another elected official who is now at the center of multiple controversies.
So this is the assessor's office.
Cassandra Elston has been the assessor here in Thornton Township for the past 10 years, an elected position that helps residents deal with exemptions and property tax appeals. But when she arrived at work this morning, something strange happened.
This was your office?
Yes.
What happened when you tried to open it?
It doesn't work. I tried to look for some paperwork that I need to do, I can't find that. I can't find certain files.
Not only had Elston been locked out of her own office, but boxes of sensitive documents that she kept in her office were spread around the common area.
This was under lock and key before.
This was under lock and key.
And now it's just out in the open?
Now it's just out in the open. Did anyone move any of this?
We didn't touch anything.
Okay, so this was moved yesterday. There were stacks here, so someone's gone through it.
So who did this to you?
Well, I mentioned this new supervisor, Tiffany Henyard. Right now, I just need to be able to sit down and do my work and help these taxpayers get these exemptions in, hopefully before the deadline, so they won't get these bills with these large numbers and just want to pass out.
Elston has been critical of Henyard's spending at the township and believes getting kicked out is political payback.
We were able to verify that longtime township employee Dwayne Thrash has alleged in a lawsuit that he was fired from his job.
Another new lawsuit filed against embattled Dolton Mayor and Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
This time by a 20-year Thornton Township employee who says he was wrongly fired after refusing to comply with an alleged scheme by Henyard's team. The lawsuit says Henyard and her special assistant, Keith Freeman, pressured Dwayne Thrash to fire a school attorney and replace her with another law firm. Thrash claims he was offered a $10,000 pay increase weeks prior to facilitating this change. After he refused, he says he was fired less than a month later.
First of all, people terminate themselves.
We've reached out to Mayor Henyard's team about this lawsuit and have not heard back.
Not because of competence or insubordination issues, as were later put into his personnel file, but because he refused efforts by Henyard and Freeman to agree to a plan to effectively let Henyard take control of a local suburban school district on which Thrash was one of 3 members. The alleged plan included creating a paid employee role for Henyard, firing other employees, and terminating the relationship with an existing law firm, and instead installing Henyard's chosen law firm. Can you guess?
You say this is my attorney, this is the village attorney. It is corporate counsel. That's what the attorney to my right is. That means that this attorney is for everybody that sits up here. I got the baddest attorney in the land. Y'all give it up for Mike Delgado.
There was overlapping hiring and firing of township personnel. A number of witnesses that we interviewed indicated that within months of Tiffany Henyard becoming supervisor on March 3rd, 2022, a number of longstanding employees lost their jobs.
Because we was in closed session, we cannot really discuss it, but I will make a statement for the record. I already told the Board of Trustees that this is political retaliation.
We heard many allegations about political retaliation, cronyism, and that people were let go because they questioned the seeming elimination of hiring and purchasing norms.
This is targeting, and they should not target these individuals to try to lay them off. I also told them that they will be sued for doing so.
I worked for the Village of Dolton for several years as the director of the building department. I was illegally fired while on FMLA. A police officer came to my home to serve me my termination letter while on FMLA. The letter had no author, no reason for termination, and no signature. So I emailed Keith Freeman, the village administrator, to verify the validity of the letter. I received a response that stated that my termination was valid. No one should walk into a government office with questions and concerns and walk away feeling defeated. We were told as department heads several times on a daily basis not to help this person or that person because of personal issues.
You throw out all these shots and all these disses and then you expect us to want to work with you. Yes, we want to work with you. If we didn't want to work with you, we wouldn't have passed the 98% of the budget that you proposed.
Because when the hate don't work, they start telling lies. And that's what this Board of Trustees have done.
We wouldn't have passed $15,000 on inauguration that you spent. So you just say all these things and you put the stuff out here in this, you did overspend the budget. $15,000 that was on inauguration. So I'm just saying this is the truth that we're dealing with.
And it's said that we are at this point because majority of them ran on my ticket. And when they ran on my ticket, they got their seat. It was to follow the mayor's vision.
We're not even going to mention the $1,500 to $2,000 gets spent on the security detail, on the block that you live on. All that stuff is reality.
And now that I am in the seat, people have their own hidden agenda, own hidden alternative to basically do what they are doing now.
I thought you were a trustee for 8 years. You would know that. I told you this when we talked. I thought you would understand what we're dealing with, and we're looking at you the same way. You did the same things. So was it wrong when you did it?
Because all we had to do is work together from day one. Day one, I ran with these individuals. Day one, I put Jason and Kiana on my ticket as trustees, not knowing that they was backstabbing me in the beginning.
If you can't look at yourself as a meat leader and think that we're listening to other people, and a majority of us are older than you, have more responsibilities than you, and we're listening to other people, so we're that weak-minded that we're listening to other people? No, we're listening to ourselves, and we're listening to what's right and what's wrong. Because you want it one way.
When I give a order, we're supposed to follow them because I am the leader for the community.
You've no compromise, and you can't even see the stuff that we have given you. We could have cut, this is the most money that we spent on a budget. Like I read earlier, we spent 10 police officers, new fire truck. We got with $510,000 in public works. We have never spent this much money in a budget. Never. In the last 10 years, we haven't spent this much. But we gave that because it's the right thing to do. And we want you to succeed, because if you succeed, we succeed.
So you guys need to stop wanting so much control and help the people. If you truly stand for what you ran for, which is to serve the people, then serve the people.
Last year, we went through every budget item line by line, which takes hours. We cannot pass this without it being public. It's not on the website. This is $26 million of village finances, taxpayers' money that we can't just brush off like it's something easy. All we're asking is to take the time like we did last year.
This warrant list right here is $1.3 million of money that the board saw some of it and sit in half of it. We don't even know what happened. So that's where my problem come at, because then y'all put this in front of us and want us to vote on it, but yet y'all paid them already. So please explain to me what you expect us to do if they already paid. Why are we approving something that you guys already took upon yourselves to pay?
The first year we passed the budget, we sat down right here with the village administrator right there and went through every line with the finance director. All I'm asking is that let's do that again. We've done that for the past 8 years. When you were a trustee, we would have to present the budget to the board. It wasn't on a meeting like this. It would be one meeting for the budget, and you went through every line. We're not doing that now. We're not saying we're against the budget. We're just saying be transparent with it. Just be transparent with it. And has it, like the finance director said, go through a finance committee where that be the only one. There's 4 other things on this agenda. We'll be here all night. How we used to do it, how we should do it. You go through every line item to be transparent with taxpayers' money. That's all we're asking.
That's my question. And I keep asking, who authorized this? Who? It's like everybody's scared to say the name. If the mayor authorized it, say it. If Elizabeth authorized it, say it. If Janice authorized it, say it. Who did it? That's all I want to know.
So you guys, that's going to be it. I figured I'd end it off with a little bit of that hypocrisy, compilation of Tiffany Henyard as a trustee. So you guys who are new to the situation can kind of see how she used to act as a trustee and how she demanded a lot of things from the previous mayor that the trustees are now demanding from her. And that is just basic accountability. All right. Well, that's going to be it, you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave it a like. And if you're new here, subscribe.